Good morning, students. Today, we are going to start a new chapter, Ecosystem, which comes under the unit Ecology. An ecosystem can be defined as a functional unit of nature where living organisms interact among themselves and also with the surrounding physical environment. The term ecosystem was coined by Sir A. J. Tansley. Ecosystem varies greatly in size from a pond to a large forest or a sea. Ecosystem can be divided into two, natural ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Natural ecosystem are of two types, terrestrial ecosystem and aquatic ecosystem. Forest, grassland, desert, etc. are example for terrestrial ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem can be divided into two, freshwater ecosystem and saltwater ecosystem. Ponds, lakes, streams, etc. are example for freshwater ecosystem. Example for saltwater ecosystem are wetlands, estuaries, marine, etc. Artificial ecosystem is man-made ecosystem. Example for man-made ecosystem are crop field and aquarium. Let's see the structure of an ecosystem. Ecosystem is made up of two components, biotic components and abiotic components. Biotic components are the living components and they are producers, consumers and decomposers. Producers are of two types, photoautotrophs and chemoautotrophs. Consumers are of four types, primary consumers or herbivores, secondary consumers or carnivores, then comes tertiary consumers and quaternary consumers. Abiotic components are the non-living components and they are air, water, sunlight, temperature, soil, etc. The interaction between biotic and abiotic components result in a physical structure that is the characteristics for each type of ecosystem. The flow of energy takes place within the components of the ecosystem. The identification and enumeration of plant and animal species in an ecosystem gives its species composition. Vertical distribution of different species occupying different levels is called stratification. For example, trees occupy top vertical strata or layer of a forest, shrubs the second, and herbs and grasses occupy the bottom layers. The components of the ecosystem are seen to function as a unit when we consider the following aspects like productivity, decomposition, energy flow, and nutrient cycling. Let's take an example of a pond. A pond is a shallow water body in which all the above mentioned four basic components of an ecosystem are well exhibited. The abiotic component is water with all the dissolved organic and inorganic substances and the rich soil deposit at the bottom of the pond. The solar input, the cycle of temperature, day length, and other climatic conditions regulate the rate of function of the entire pond. The autotrophic components are phytoplankton, some algae, and the floating, submerged, and marginal plants found at the edges of the pond. The consumers are zooplanktons, free swimming, and bottom dwelling forms. The decomposers are fungi, bacteria, flagellates, etc. The system performs all the functions of any ecosystem and of the biosphere as a whole. That is, conversion of inorganic substances into organic substance with the help of the radiant energy of the sun by autotrophs, consumption of autotrophs by heterotrophs, decomposition and mineralization of the dead matter to release them back for the reuse of autotrophs. These events are repeated over and over again. There is unidirectional movement of energy towards a higher trophic level and its dissipation and loss as heat to the environment. Let's see how an ecosystem works. A constant input of solar energy is a basic requirement for any ecosystem to function and sustain. Plants use this solar energy for the production of food or organic matter or biomass during the process of photosynthesis. The amount of biomass or organic matter produced per unit area over a time period by plants during photosynthesis is called as primary production. It is expressed in the form of weight as gram per square meter or energy as kilocalories per square meter. The rate of biomass production per unit area is called as productivity. Primary productivity can be divided into gross primary productivity and net primary productivity. Gross primary productivity of an ecosystem is the rate of production of organic matter during photosynthesis. A considerable amount of GPP is utilized by the plants in respiration. Gross primary productivity minus respiration losses is the net primary productivity. Net primary productivity is the available biomass for the consumption to heterotrophs. Secondary productivity is defined as the rate of formation of new organic matter by consumers. Primary productivity depends on the plant species inhabiting in a particular area. It also depends on a variety of environmental factors, availability of nutrients, and photosynthetic capacity of plants. Therefore, it varies in different types of ecosystems. The annual net primary productivity of the whole biosphere is approximately 170 billion tons of organic matter. Of this, despite occupying 70% of the surface, the productivity of oceans are only 55 billion tons. Rest, of course, is on land. What happens in an ecosystem when an organism is dead? It gets decomposed. What is decomposition? It is a process that involves the breakdown of complex organic matter or biomass from the body of dead plants and animals with the help of decomposers into inorganic raw materials such as carbon dioxide, water, and other nutrients. Decomposition produces a dark colored, nutrient rich substance called humus. Dead plant remains such as leaves, bark, flowers, and dead remains of animals, including fecal matter, constitute detritus, which is the raw material for decomposition. Let's see various processes involved in decomposition. Dead plant and animal remains are broken down into smaller pieces by the action of detritivores such as earthworms. This process is called as fragmentation. The water-soluble nutrients present in the dead remains go down into the soil layers and get logged as unavailable salt. This process is called as leaching. Bacteria and fungi degrade detritus through various enzymes into smaller pieces. This process is known as catabolism. The next step is humification, which leads to the formation of dark colored colloidal substance called humus, which acts as reservoir of nutrients for plants. The humus is further degraded by the action of microbes, which finally leads to the release of inorganic nutrients into the soil. This process of releasing inorganic nutrients from the humus is known as mineralization. Let's see the factors affecting decomposition. Decomposition is largely an oxygen requiring process. The rate of decomposition is controlled by chemical composition of detritus and climatic factors. In a particular climatic condition, decomposition rate is lower if the detritus is rich in lignin and chitin, and quicker if detritus is rich in nitrogen and water soluble substances like sugars. Temperature and soil moisture are the most important climatic factors that regulate decomposition through their effects on the activities of soil microbes. Warm and moist environment favor decomposition, whereas low temperature and anaerobiosis inhibit decomposition, resulting in building up of organic materials. In this session, you have learned about ecosystem, various types of ecosystem, and structure of ecosystem. You have also learned about two of the functions of ecosystem. We'll continue the chapter in the next session. Thank you, students.